Hey everyone, welcome back to my cozy corner. If you're new here, welcome. I'm just a regular old college student, Kelsey Dominguez. But if you're not new here, welcome back to the chaos. We are back with another freaking book video. It is now the month of March. I think it's like March 3rd already, and so we are going to be talking about our February TBR wrap up and see how we did this month, see what we liked, what we didn't like, all that stuff. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and talk about the Children of Blood and Bone trilogy. Now, I won't lie to you guys. I definitely it's not lost, it's misplaced. I misplaced the first book in this trilogy, and my dear friend Danelli actually has it. Love you, Danelli. I'm gonna get it back from you one day whenever I can see you. She lives so far away, so when I told her, I was like, hey, I think I forgot my book in your car. She was like, girl, I've had your wallet for 2 weeks because you lost your wallet in my car. Now you lost your book and you haven't even finished it left. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I only have like 40 pages left. I'm so sorry. And so what I ended up having to do was okay, quick little rundown. Kindle Unlimited had a 2-month special where if you were a new member, the first 2 months would only be for like $5, and you paid the $11.99 per month like after that. And I was like, dude, that's such a steal. Let's go for it. Let's finish up our book and let's start in the next few books. And so that's exactly what happened. Now, The Children of Blood and Bone follows a group of 4 people. The fourth one isn't really part of the book. He's kind of like, it's so weird. He's like a side character that spends the majority of the book hunting this girl down, the main character, main female character, and trying to get some answers, and the main character just wants nothing to do with him. And he just kind of mopes around all day, but essentially this story is about 2 different sides of a kingdom. We have the royals, who are not, well, there's half people that are magic and half people that aren't magic people, that can't use magic. The royal family also can't use magic, and they decided to, why am I holding my pinky like this? Oh my gosh. They decided to basically force all pretty much, if you have magic, you kind of suck. You're not really part of high society. You're kind of considered, like, literally, you're considered a maggot. You're called maggot. It's a slur. It really sucks. Definitely bringing into a lot of just like a lot of discrimination going on in this book. I loved it the first book. We're following, like I said, 4 people. The 3 people that are actually really important in this story are two village people and a princess. The 2 village people, obviously they're in a village, and one of them is the sister. The main female character has magic. She's known as what's called a diviner. In this book, there is no magic. Magic was eradicated, I believe, 13 years ago by the king and the royal family, with what's called the raid or some crap. And during this post-raid time, all of the diviners, and diviners are like indicated by their white hair. As you can see in this book, the female main character has white hair. That's what distinguishes her from the rest of the population, because she has white hair, so therefore she is a diviner. Therefore she has the bloodline that contains magic. And so this girl is there's also a princess in this book, and she ends up finding her father's scroll in his study or some crap, and the scroll can bring back magic. And so she's like, okay, I want to go on a mission to bring back magic. And so she ends up fleeing her castle, her kingdom, ends up running into the main female character. We're going to give these girls names. So the princess's name is Amari, and the diviner's name is Zelly. Zelly is the diviner, Amari is the princess. We just went over this. And Amari ends up finding Zelly in the market one day while Zelly's trying to find her, sell her fish. And she ends up bumping into her, and Amari sees that that Zelly has white hair, and she's like, oh, she's a diviner. She can help me. She can bring magic back. It's going to be a whole deal. But Amari's being chased down by the guards. And so Amari's like, hey, you have to help me. So these 2 girls, they get out of the market. They find safe land. They end up going back to Zelly's hometown. I believe it's called Elorin or something like that. And pretty much, like, Zelly's like, hey, who are you? Why did you come? Like, why are you, like, screwing up my life by me trying to save you? And now, like, what's your deal, essentially? And so she's like, hey, I have this scroll. This scroll, if you touch it, it will bring magic back, and, you know, we can save the kingdom and bring magic back, and it'll be great for everybody. She's, like, super skeptical. So she touches the scroll, boom, her magic's back, and she's like, holy crap, that's awesome. So Zelly is now on a mission to bring back magic for everybody. She ends up going to this temple, I believe it's a temple, finds somebody, and he's like, I'm gonna call him the sage. I forgot his name and I forgot his like his title, what he does and whatever, but he's basically a sage. He's a teacher. He holds like knowledge and stuff. And he's like, hey, you brought back magic temporarily. If you don't bring magic back by the solstice, by doing this ritual and stuff, it'll be gone forever. So that's their mission. They go off on that side quest. It's a great book. I really enjoyed it. And in the second book, they end up bringing magic back with a twist. They didn't just bring magic back for the diviners. They brought magic back from basically anybody that had magic in their blood from like literally from the beginning of time, whether it was like a diviner had a child with a non-diviner or magic just happened to seep into the blood. And so they the people that have like diluted magic blood are what's called a titan. Guess what? Members of the royal family are titans. And so now they're like, holy crap. So magic is, they still believe that magic is evil. They were indoctrinated as kids to believe that magic is evil. And so they're still trying to get rid of the diviners. So it's still like a whole back and forth scenario between the diviners and the non-magic people. And so they end up fighting it out. And honestly, the book could have stopped here. I'm not gonna lie. The book could have finished where it was. Oh, between the rankings of the first two books, the first book, I gave it a solid 3.75/4 star. I really enjoyed it. The second book kind of fell. I gave it a 3.75, 3.5 star. It wasn't the best, but I like how, well, no. What really irked me about this book is characters that kept getting killed off came back for no reason. Literally, somebody gets killed off. Well, a couple people get killed off. And, well, no, a few people get killed off in the first book. And one of them ends up coming back, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. Excuse me, he's back, whatever. And then in the second book, he gets killed off like 3 times, still comes back, and I'm like, dude, it's really irritating because it's giving when Arcane season 2, like they brought the dad back, and I was like, oh, that's so cute, but I think they're gonna kill the dad off again. Exactly what happened. And then they brought him back again, and now he's a monster, and then they kill him again, and guess what? He's probably gonna come back again for the 3rd time. So that's how I felt like it was in this book. I was like, dude, just kill him off already. Like, Zelly is clearly not into him. Yes, he is the love interest, whatever. He's the one that I said just kind of didn't matter, that 4th character that we didn't really care about. But they just kept bringing him back, and they kept bringing him back a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 10th time. And I'm like, dude, look, just kill him off already. He doesn't add anything to the plot. He just adds, like, more anguish to Zelly's situation, and she's just not... She's not here for him. She doesn't really care. So let's just let him be in the grave and whatever, and it's fine. Like, he doesn't add any substance to the story, in my humble opinion. That leads me to the third book. At the end of the second book, once the royals and the diviners are done fighting and stuff, something happens before Zelly is able to kill somebody and end the battle. And that something is a third party ends up coming into the mix and spreads this gas. Okay, they spread this gas and everyone ends up falling asleep. And so in the third book, Zelly ends up waking up on a ship. New party is involved. We don't know these people. We don't know where they're from, who they are, what's going on, nothing. And Zelly is trying to find a way out of here. She's like, listen, they've been having us locked up on here, I think for like 3 months or some crap. And okay. A couple of tidbits with this one. They didn't explain whether them being prisoners, whether they were being fed or any sort of proper like prisonery holding. Like, they didn't describe the conditions in the book very well, the author. And what kept being mentioned and brought up was how, what do you call it? Emaciated? Is that the term? The characters looked like they had their ribs protruding from their skin. They lost so much weight. It gave off the impression that nobody was fed. But it was implied. It wasn't directly said the specific conditions that these now prisoners were going through. So it was really confusing at the beginning because I'm like, okay, so what's going on? I'm really confused. Like, we haven't even gotten to the none of the conditions were described. Were people tortured? Were people hurt? Were people like all that kept brought up was like, oh, these people have bruises, these people have like whiplashes, these people have like stuff going on, but none of those situations specifically were brought up, if that makes sense. But anyway, so that's like one of my little gripes with this book. Second gripe is I felt like people, like, the author was trying to make a twist on colonialism, and instead of Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue and fucked up 1492, it was basically the slave trade in Africa, and she tried to retell it through the Children of Blood and Bone universe, but I'm not sure if it was because it was the last book that maybe it wasn't the best time to bring it up. Not like that it's a bad thing. It's just it was so bizarre because I'm like, oh, we're all in chains now and we're being whipped and beat up and we've got these special powers that these guys are after. So let me just go ahead and clarify who these people are. I definitely forget what they call themselves, but they're portrayed as very fair-skinned, light eyes, basically the depiction of a white person. And they've kidnapped these people and they've been selling them off and killing them in order to find somebody like Zelly who has golden tattoos and I forgot what specifically, but it was basically Zelly. They were looking for her. They wanted to take her heart and they wanted to do some magic-y shit with it because they wanted magic. And that was the whole thing. They were killing off her people, doing a whole bunch of stuff just to get magic for themselves. And I'm gonna go off on a whole rant. I feel like it could have ended at book 2 because we already finished fighting with the royals. We could bring, world peace and stuff between our kingdom and start anew. I feel like the author kind of went left with this. So this gets a 2.75 for me. A for effort because I do see where she was trying to go, but maybe just not the best time in the series because I just didn't understand how the story was supposed to relate to that. Like it just went left and we're like, oh, okay, but what do you mean? Because there were terms like, we'll never be free. You were never not free? You were treated horribly, don't get me wrong. You were discriminated against. It was a lot of racism. Well, not racism, but classism. A lot of you have magic and so you're a horrible person, but you weren't in chains. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. All the shit that you went through was valid. But I'm gonna go on a whole rant about this and I'm just gonna say forget about it and not go on a rant about this because it is currently 7 p.m. at night and I'm tired. So 2.75, I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to move on. The whole series as a whole definitely gets a 3.54 star from me. I would love to reread the first 2 books in the future whenever I can. But the last book I feel like I could just skip because it has nothing to do with, it has to do with the story, yeah, but it just doesn't, it could have been wrapped up if that makes sense. But anyway, enough rambling. Next we have 4 Ruined Realms by Mike Horland. This is the second book in the 5 Broken Blades series. If you remember from my TBR, February TBR video, I talked about it briefly. So in the first book, 5 Broken Blades, just quick recap. 6 people go on a mission to kill the king. They fail, and the king's like, oh, well, you did fail, but that's not the point. Your actual mission is to kill off the queen. Boom. Done. We're over with. The new mission now, to kill off the queen from another land. And so the same 6 characters except -1 now because one's in jail to be held as leverage for the people to go after the queen. 5 people now sail across the ocean blue to, instead of kill the queen, they're trying to, party up, co-op, ask for help. There we go. Ask for help in starting a war to kill the king because he's an asshole. He sucks. He's whatever. And so they end up going across the land. I gave this book a solid 4.5 stars just because the whole book was spent trying to get to the queen. Because the queen ended up, she ended up getting into power by either assassinating or supposedly allegedly assassinating her husband, the king. So now she's the queen and she's in the higher, she's in charge and whatever. People keep trying to kill her, so she is using what's called the rule of distance or some crap. The rule of distance means you can't come within 100 feet of her, and these 5 people are now trying to find a way to bypass that and stuff like that. So the whole book is spent. The first half of the book is spent trying to repair the bonds that were broken at the end of the first book because, lies, deceit, whatever. Also trying to learn how to work together, and then also trying to learn how to overrule the rule of distance for a bit. We have 2 ways. And this is a little silly. We can either grab the skull or the head of one of their enemies off in some faraway land in the same continent, or we can go find some really crazy what did Royal call them, the talking murder chicken, something like that. I loved Royal in this book. He gives Natsu from Fairy Tail. He's just very, I don't want to use simple-minded, but he's just very hack and slash, get this shit done and think about food later in the day. He's such a mood. I loved Royal in this book. So they end up splitting up 2 groups. one person, one group of people go to get the screaming murder chickens or the talking murder chickens, and the other group goes off to find the basically like a corpse head to bring it back to the queen. And what happens if they bring either of those items back is they can end up having a dinner or a meal with the queen, discuss what happened in the first book essentially, and get the queen on their side to go kill the king, because they're all in the same family. Like, that's his sister, the king's sister, and that's the queen's brother and stuff like that, whatever. So they end up splitting up. The one to go get the group that went to go get the corpse failed. It was 3 people. It was, who was it? It was the prince, which his name is, oh my gosh, Khan? I think his name is Khan. I'm totally witching it. So, no, it wasn't Khan. It was, we're just gonna call him the prince. Prince, Mikhail, and Sora. They all end up going off to get the corpse. It doesn't go very well. They kind of, the prince and Mikhail are having, relationship issues as always. And Sora is dealing with the fact that her sister's going to be dying soon. And now she's been sold, and, it's a whole big thing. She's got some trauma that she's dealing with, so she's kind of out of it for most of this book. And they end up failing, however, by the way, quick spoiler, I'm so sorry, this is definitely a spoiler filled video, so sorry. Definitely read the book first before coming to watch this video. It is a good book, but I'm gonna talk about it, you know what I'm saying? I gotta talk about it. I gotta tell you what it's about so that you can go read it, and and we can all have a good time. We can talk about it. The other group, Royal and Aerie, the princess, they're figuring out their whole relationship issues. Royal doesn't feel like he can trust Aerie, and so they end up having to learn how to trust each other to go get the screaming chicken egg. They end up going there. I forget what they're called. We're just going to call them the screaming chickens. Here we go. And so they end up successfully getting it. They end up bringing the stuff to the queen. They talk to her. A whole bunch of shenanigans goes on. It doesn't work out. The king ends up now coming to her shores, because I guess the group of 5 to go talk to the queen or go kill the queen was actually a distraction, because now they're bringing the war to their border. Long story short, the war doesn't happen. Some stuff goes down, someone dies, and now we're down to 4 people. Now we still don't trust each other. Some stuff goes down, and we're all split up again. We're not friends anymore, and we're waiting for book 3. Sorry, little quick spoilers on that one, but that is 4 Ruined Realms. I really like this book. It had its little flaws, but I give this one a solid 4-star. Definitely looking forward to the next book. Also, cannot get over the sprayed edges on this book. It is so beautiful. I think that this is the prince in this one. He has a bow, and the prince is very skilled in archery. So, loved it. That leads us to our next book, Stalking Jack the Ripper. This didn't go how I thought it would be. So if you remember from our February TBR, just initiating it, I thought that Stalking Jack the Ripper was about a girl who was in a posh high society, and she's I guess someone, the maternal family person in her family died, and she was trying to find the killer. I thought it was about that. It's actually about, what is this girl's name? Audrey Rose, and doesn't even bring up the guy. No, we don't bring up the guy. Okay, we have Audrey and we have Thomas. I think his name is Thomas Cresswell or something like that. Audrey and Thomas, Audrey has an uncle who works for this school, and he's like a forensics professor or something like that. Thomas is one of his bright students, and Audrey Rose is being secretly taught by her uncle, because it's not proper for a woman to be dealing with bodies in this country. It's giving Bridgerton meets Jack the Ripper, murder cases and stuff, and I love it. I'm here for it. I give this one honestly, this was a 5-star. I was eating this book up breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I absolutely love this book. This book is amazing, except for the main character is kind of a little silly. She's sheltered, and she's meant to be some high society posh woman who's all dainty and cute and whatever, and she's supposed to be married off to some hobo or whatever. But other than that, it's cute, it's YA, it's whatever. So Audrey Rose and Thomas Cresswell are trying to find what's called the leather killer or something like that. I forget, but it's basically Jack the Ripper, and Jack the Ripper has been killing women, trying to and cutting off their body parts to do God knows what with it. It gets to a certain point though, because all of these dead women have body parts missing, and then like, you know, someone has a kidney missing, someone has a brain, someone has a heart, blah blah blah. And it gets to a point where they realize all that's left of the human body as far as organs is the heart. So that's probably who what the killer's gonna take next. They end up going on this whole thing trying to get closer to the killer. Audrey's family is in question, her dad's in question, her uncle ends up getting arrested. It's a whole thing. And at the end, oh, okay, look, I'm a fiend for this. I'm such a horrible person for this. I won't lie. I was kind of hoping that Jack the Ripper was Thomas Cresswell. I've been reading too many dark fantasies lately. Because, I don't know. He gave morally gray character. He gave, like, very sassy, I call it sassy. Very, like, rude, but except for when it comes to her. Very, like, emotionally detached and could be possibly having, like, psychotic tendencies and whatever. So I'm like, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it him, and then, you know, Thomas was like, oh, I'm doing this all for you, and then they end up getting together at the end, and it's a whole cute thing, and blah, 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 psychotic romance, but it's not that. It wasn't him, and I'm kind of glad it was, because then I was kind of questioning my own head at the end of the bit. I was like, wait, why would we want a serial killer to be the MC's wife? I mean, yeah, there's books out there for that, but it's probably not the best for our mental health, but anyway, that wasn't the killer. The killer, I won't lie, It did catch me, and I liked it. However, I was kind of thinking that it was going to be the father. It's not the father. Sorry, spoiler alert. It's not the father. It is someone in her family, though. And she ends up, like, I guess her family's going to end up taking, like, a ding to their reputation or whatever. But they end up finding the killer. They end up locking him up. Or does he kill himself? I forget. And then I thought that this was a standalone. This is is it a trilogy? No, it's a 4-book series based off of different, important, like, serial killers. Oh, no. Like, literally, this is Jack the Ripper, right? I think the next book is, like, Dracula or, like, the vampire or something. Probably, like, not actually vampires and, you know, Dracula and whatever, but it's probably, like, another killer that is based off of Dracula. Oh, in the 3rd book, I ended up receiving it. Well, not receiving it, I bought it. If you watched my previous video about my, the February book haul, little mini book haul, I ended up picking up the, what is it? Escaping from Houdini book from Carrie Maniscalco. And that's when I learned that this was not a standalone. And I'm actually really excited for it because it's about, like, it's basically like a whodunit closed case. Not closed case, but, like, closed box case where everyone's in a, what are they, on a boat or something? And people end up dying and they're trying to find the killer, and the killer's obviously with them on the boat. I'm looking forward to that. That is really cool. I used to watch, like, Case Closed, if you remember that anime from way back when, and Conan is like some little, well, he's not a little kid, he's like a 18-year-old guy that ended up getting turned into a kid. He's like a really smart detective, and so he ends up like, what do you call it, he ends up like recruiting all these little kids to solve detective cases. It is so cute. There's an episode where everyone's in a mansion and someone ends up dying. It's like some party event or whatever, so now they have to find the killer, and they find the killer, and it's really awesome, and I love it, and you guys should go watch it. It's an amazing anime. I absolutely love it. But that is Stalking Jack the Ripper. I gave this one a 4-star. I love this book. And now to talk about this last book, I'm sorry, this is definitely going on a bit too long, much longer than it should. I'm gonna try and keep this short and sweet. This is A Study in Drowning, and I absolutely loved this book. This is the sprayed edges. It looks like a little library. I thought it was amazing as far as, like, the art style on the cover and the sprayed edges. However, this is not what I thought it was. Okay, look, I got some mixed feelings about this book. I give this a 4.5 star, but that 0.5 is because I have some questions. So throughout this book, we're following Effie, and what is the guy's name? We have Effie, and we have some guy named P. Hillary Preston. There we go. We're following Effie and Preston, whatever. So Effie is this girl at this architecture college. Well, it's not architecture college. It's a university with different stuff in it. You can either be in the architecture section or you can be in the literature section. However, women are not allowed in the literature, I cannot speak, you guys, literature section, because they're women, and, you know, it's just misogyny at its finest and whatever. So Effie ends up picking the architecture section because that's all that she can pick, and she's like, whatever, I'll just study literature in my own free time, I guess, whatever. And she ends up, I forget, okay, look, the problem with this is I listened to this on the audiobook because I have Everand for school, and it would happen to be on there, and I was like, oh, I'll just listen to this while I'm in the shower, while I'm doing daily tasks and whatever, and I'll just, like, finish this book faster because it's easier to listen than it is to read. Well, it's faster to do that than to read, because I also had it on 1.8 times speed because I've got ADHD. That's just the whole thing or whatever. But Okay, look, what's her name? Effie. Effie ends up getting an opportunity of a lifetime to go to this, like, haunted mansion and whatever. And in this world, we had an event, God knows how long ago, called the Drowning. It's giving Noah's Ark? I'm wondering, like, they never go into what the heck the drowning was. So, I'm guessing it's like when, I guess there was like a really, really, really heavy rain season, and this is taking place in like some London ass, like, realm. And so, it's very cold, it's very rainy, it's very windy, it's whatever. And so, it's poor climate. They probably had like a monsoon, not a monsoon, but like they probably had a hurricane come through and like pulled up all their water, not pulled up all their water, but like it was giving Noah's Ark. I guess they got flooded and everyone died and whatever in the end, whatever. That's the event. So it keeps getting mentioned throughout this whole book, but what the importance is, it isn't really important until the end. So Effie ends up getting the opportunity of a lifetime to go to some old man's not attic, but like old man's house to do this like research paper. No, she ends up going to redesign his house or some crap. And she ends up trying to check a book out at the library, but lo and behold, this book has been checked out already by this guy named P. Hillary. And she's like, who the fuck took my book? I was really looking forward to reading this book. So she ends up saying, whatever, fuck it, I'll get it when I come back. And she ends up going to this building to redesign with the architect, because she's in architecture school. And so when she gets there, she ends up meeting this guy. He's like he's an asshole essentially. They ended up fighting, and his his cute little like dislike to love. It's really adorable. And lo and behold, this is the person that took out her book. His name is Preston. He's an asshole. Whatever. Nice to meet you. And they end up having to work together to, I guess he's like writing some thesis or some crap on like the guy who lives there and his family history or something. I really don't know. But they end up solving. It's really, really weird. Okay, so look, I kind of felt gaslight throughout this entire book. Okay, so Effie has. When she was a little girl, her mom ended up throwing her out in the streets in the middle of winter. Frostbitten, cold, and delirious, she's walking down the street and ends up going under a bridge to rest. In that moment, out comes from the waters, I think, some guy, and she's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm the Elf King. I can take you to safety and whatever. So she almost takes his hand because she's scared, she's alone, she's like probably like 6 at this point. She has no adult authority in her life right now. She's like, oh, okay, you seem safe, let me take your hand and whatever. At that moment though, her mom ends up finding her and takes her back, because I guess you can unabandon your child. So Effie leads her life being told that this event never happened, and she ends up being taken to like so many different psychiatrists. They gave her so many different meds, so she's on a plethora of medication throughout the day to keep her sane. What I mean by this is she keeps seeing the Elf King. She keeps thinking that she's senile and seeing this fucking Elf King everywhere, and everyone's telling her that nobody's there. You're seeing shit, girly. And so she leads her whole life understanding that she's seeing shit, and she's always seen shit, and she just has medication to help her not see that shit. She also has medication to help her sleep so that she doesn't have nightmares about the Elf King. And so she just thinks she's crazy. But she knows that she's not crazy, because she sees it clear as day. Anyway, throughout this whole book, anybody who's an evil man, and it's always the man. Well, is it always the man? No. There's a couple of instances when it's a woman. It may not be the opposite of misogynistic, is it? Anti-patriot? Oh, anyway, I'm not gonna get into it. Look. So, Effie and Preston end up working together to, Preston ends up giving her, like, a proposal, and she's like, hey, if you help me out with my thesis, I will put you on the cover, and I will say that you helped me write this, and I can put you in the literature school. That is my promise to you. So, they end up working together on this thesis. I don't even know what the fuck it's about, but at the end of this book, it ends up turning into, like a biography about this person who lived, and the person who, lived ended up, she ended up going through the Elf King situation. Like, she had the same exact stuff, and she's like, look, Effie, you're not crazy. That actually happened. And so Effie had these couple of these moments before this event where she ended up telling Preston, like, hey, I see the Elf King. He's like, who the fuck is the Elf King? That's like a guy in a storybook, right? And she's like, no, he's real, and I see him every day, especially when a man is trying to take advantage of me. There's a lot of mentions of SA, so if you dealt with that stuff or you're just not really keen to it, definitely skip it. Well, just be aware. It's a great book, don't get me wrong, but just be aware when you're going into it that you're going to deal with some dark shit. He doesn't believe her at first, lo and behold, and then she just kind of accepts it, but he's like, look, I don't believe it, but I believe you type shit. And so they end up getting together. It's cute. It's really adorable. And, they have a great time. They end up solving the mystery of this little house and whatever. The Elf King ends up dying because I guess the only way to kill the Elf King or to destroy him is to, like, make him see his own reflection or some crap. It's really weird. It's cute. It's fantasy and whatever. Well, it's like an old fictional, like, out of a Grimm storybook type shit. But that is A Study in Drowning. They end up getting the thesis published, and Effie ends up going to into the literature school. And now we're waiting for the next book. I don't know what it's going to be about. It's called, like, A Study in Dreaming or something like that. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I have no idea what it's about. Look, guys, it's been 32 minutes of this video. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I did not expect this video to go on so long. I also didn't expect it to film it later at night because I had this makeup done by 3 p.m. I was expecting to get this stuff done, to get this video done, and to call it a day and just relax and watch cartoons. However, my roommate was like, hey, let's go to the market. I said, what kind of market? She was like, the Asian market. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. I want some sushi. Actually, it's a great season for hot pot. Let's get some hot pot materials. That's exactly what we did, and now it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm tired, and I'm losing my voice because it's been a long day. I had a school. I had lab. I had a midterm. Oh. Just kidding. Actually, the midterm was kind of fun. Okay, look. Stay tuned, though, because probably next week we're going to talk about our March TBR. I actually am really excited for this month. I'm reading a few books that I've been looking forward to for a minute, so definitely stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please like it. I definitely appreciate it. Comment down below if you read any of the books mentioned today, and comment what your favorite book was. Also, definitely subscribe, because Girly Pop, what are you doing? You made it 34 minutes into the video and you haven't subscribed yet? Come on, Girly Pop, make me a 20-person subscriber. 20 subscribers on my channel, that's all I want. Just kidding. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.